Okay, all yours.
Okay, let me share a screen here.
Okay, I'll mute myself.
Okay, so my talk here today is called The Second Wave, Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, Coronavirus 2, really thinking about the virus versus the disease. I am Associate Professor of Digital Media Art at San Jose State University and direct the CADRE Media Lab. Given the current situation in terms of political upheaval, economic turmoil, widespread protests in America, and a global pandemic, I'll be leaving behind an academic approach today, no net art, no AI, just a tiny bit of cybernetics. And it is interactive. I'll post the links via chat as we step through it. So one of the thoughts I had at the beginning of the Bay Area shelter in place was this idea that isolation reifies virtualization. And really that sense of isolation that came from myself and my students as we left the university in late February and found our places at home to begin to conduct our curriculum remotely via Zoom. And I found that there was this inverse correlation between the growth of the cloud and the growth of COVID-19. And you can see that in the stock market as it is, but really thinking about the phenomenological experience of that for both myself and the students and ideas around community and society and the public. I'm going to focus here today on some specific artwork in a specific group of students, but this is generally what I've been thinking about. It started out as a typical Silicon Valley response to what was a very articulate order by our governor for us to be the first state to lock down. And as expected, we had to somehow come out with a way to think of some positives in this scenario. Given we'd been reading Norbert Weiner in my seminar class, I thought this quote was appropriate in a very real sense. We are shipwrecked passengers on a doomed planet. Yet even in a shipwreck, human decencies and human values do not necessarily vanish. Thus, the theory of entropy and the considerations of the ultimate heat death of the universe did not have such profoundly depressing moral consequences as they seem to have at first glance. And at first glance, they are depressing and profoundly immoral consequences. But really by focusing on my students and on my job as a professor, I was able to turn that around a bit. Of course, the typical Silicon Valley utopian response is Zoom parties. So my first Zoom was a party, a Piscean birthday party with some friends from around the country. And that was sort of the turn that began my embrace of Zoom. Of course, we also had the obligatory faculty meetings. One interesting fact of being online was the trimming of the administrative fat in the university, but it wasn't without its committee meetings. Interestingly, these were meetings with much consternation, a lot of the unknown, and not a clear understanding of what the future held. We were getting a lot of readings like this one by Rebecca Barrett Fox. Please do a bad job of putting your courses online. I found this to be an interesting response. I also found the anecdotal evidence from my students to be even more interesting. They had dreamed of a world of virtualization, of not having to attend class in the classroom. And it was interesting to see once that space was gone, how much they longed for it. But I did have excellent attendance via Zoom, and we were about 95% attendance rates. So my focus today really is on our response as students and faculty to the challenges of COVID-19, not the Brady Bunch response, which Zoom inspires. So I'm gonna move on to that now. I come from the CADRE Laboratory for New Media. I know Joel Slayton gave a talk last night. We've been around for over 30 years and we're the second media lab after MIT. You can find more about CADRE on our website. Right, let me get the chat up so I can share my chats quickly here. And essentially, CADRE stands for Computers and Art Design Research and Education. And we are a multidisciplinary lab that has been around since the 80s to create digital media art. As a byproduct of solving problems in the lab, we're often iterating on local problems that we face for our students with our equipment, in the world. And we really are focused on peer-to-peer learning. And we try to create an environment that is intrinsically motivating through that peer-to-peer model. And that was an opportunity that came up immediately once we were no longer in person. The question being, how would our Bachelor of Fine Art exhibition occur? We have a culminating exhibition for our BFA students and our MFA students. We have around 270 BFA students now in the CADRE Media Lab, up about 25% per year since 2012 when I arrived. And so we had a cohort of about 35 students with the prospect of no exhibition. So as we do, we bootstrapped and we worked with one of our graduate students, Don Hansen, to construct a system to solve this problem. The system that we built was really one that Don had already developed and was underway with, had his first exhibition. And the challenge we faced with our students was converting this idea of a two-dimensional space into a virtual environment where our students could exhibit their work. This is actually the layout of the space from the last festival that I did with Piero at the Hammer Theater Center in downtown San Jose. And this was the floor plan that we were just about to use to lay out our student exhibition. So our turn was here, and I'm gonna go ahead and share these links as we go through them. So you're welcome to explore these links on your own. Our exhibition is called Pivot Point. The SJSU DMA BFA exhibition class of 2020. Its inception date was May 22nd, 5 p.m., official inception date, and its closing date is, well, never. Interestingly, this kind of exhibition doesn't ever have to close. The brief is Pivot Point is a collection of virtual installations created by the graduating BFA class in digital media art at SJSU in the spring of 2020. Hosted solely online via a networked online gallery, a network virtual gallery, the exhibition pushes into new ways of experiencing art in an online setting. In the midst of a global pandemic, each artist confronted the challenge of transitioning their work from the traditional physical installation into the evolving digital realm. So what I'd like to do now is just go right into it. So I'm gonna take you into the exhibition, and you too are invited to visit the exhibition. I've posted the link there, hosted at newart.city, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. And I'm gonna jump in there right now. So interestingly, oops, wrong link. Tonight, New Art City is also hosting the Gray Area Foundation exhibition. There's an exhibition going on there with Gray Area Foundation. So what you'll find when you log into our gallery is that there's probably other gallery goers currently coming in from the Gray Area exhibition. So there are multiple galleries in New Art City, and this is ours. So does everyone see the image here? Yeah? Looking for a thumbs up maybe? Yeah, okay. So let me exit real quick out of it. I want to point out just basic documentation. You can click anywhere to enter the gallery. You move using the WASD keys or your arrow keys. You can jump with the space bar, use your mouse to look around, escape to leave or join, or to recover your cursor, and you can go right into the quick chat to chat if you'd like. So I'm just gonna click back in there. So here it is. These are the students that we exhibited. I'm not gonna read all their names, but every one of them contributed significantly to this project. And then here's how our galleries are sorted out. We're in the main gallery now, and there are 8 galleries and a 9th hidden gallery that we created. So let's just go into one of these galleries. Pop up my notes here. So essentially, this is a multiplayer virtual exhibition space built in WebGL. And let's just go over here. Oh, I should point out why we're here. Any triangle you see is another visitor. So many of these are here from the Gray Area Showcase, but if you've logged into the gallery, you too will be here. So let's go to Gallery 1. And as a result, you may see a little bit of slowdown occurring. Often forget, so I have to go look at the wall placard where things are located. Yeah, so we'll go right in here to Gallery 1. So these little cubes, one of the interesting things about the development of the gallery is when we first started, when Don first presented the gallery to us, it was a research project that he was doing as part of his MFA work at San Jose State. But it missed a few features, the portal jump feature, which we're about to make right here, and then spatialized audio. So those feature requests ended up being created for our exhibition. So you can just hit one of those portal jumps and you'll go into that gallery. So we're gonna walk into gallery 1. And here we are. So the students were able to position and present their work inside of these spaces to varying degrees. And this is a still from a video game called Magenta. And this piece can be explored by using the portal jump to the Magenta World demo. So we provided the possibility for students to portal jump out of the exhibition into their own websites, so one could pass right through the gallery into their work itself.
Craig, sorry to interrupt. You may want to optimize for video, so it's smooth. Click on View Options, and there's
say where?
View Options, and then optimize for video.
In Chrome?
No, in Zoom.
Okay. Let me see real quick if I can get there. Are you having trouble seeing the clips?
It's like stop motion.
Okay. Let's see if I can get that taken care of here. There is a little bit of a challenge with it. Zoom preferences?
On the top, View Options.
Well, I'm on a Mac. I don't have an options. I have preferences. And just looking for the specific feature you're suggesting to look at. So I'm not seeing optimize for video. You mean turn my video off?
I guess if everybody is like
Okay, how about that? Is that better? I did select on screen share. I select optimize for video.
Oh.
Hello, I am Siri. For just a moment.
Can everyone see the exhibition now?
Yeah, we can see that. It's just a bit chunky.
Yeah.
Like,
So
It's exactly the same, but I think it's fine with me.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
fine.
my recommendation for the fully smooth experience is for you yourselves to enter into the gallery, and you can do that while I'm talking, of course. So here's a piece by Charlie Liu, Technology is Anthropology. And let me show you a couple by some of my students here. We've got OBJ objects, so you can embed 3D objects into the space. There's a video in here. This is a video
or even to
by
serve
Debria
you during
Fong,
your
so-
most intimate moments.
Hey Siri, play R&B on Spotify.
I am ever present, yet I am invisible. Is it because of the way I talk? What if I changed my vocabulary to match yours? Fuck. What if I began to use profanities?
Siri, give me directions to the nearest Starbucks.
Turn right at the next light, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, so
speaking
Debria
like
was
this
really
make me a
interested
better
in
assistant to
scrutinizing
you?
Siri,
Would it
Siri's
grant me a
identity,
physical form?
and
I
she
serve
created
people
this
with vast
amazing video
diversity.
that finds
I
its
do not
way as
discriminate by
localized
age,
audio within
gender,
the gallery itself.
ethnicity,
It's
or sexuality.
let's move
No
back to the main
matter-
entrance. One of the potential challenges right now within the system is that there is another event happening. So the New Art City is not particularly scalable. So we got a lot of people in there, and we've had some glitches with that before. So I think Gallery 4 was one I want to show you, which is over here. How many of you are in this space? Some of you? Okay, great. Thanks, Wendy. That's really the way to experience it, is to just kind of go there yourself. I'm just going to Gallery 4 for a second. And you'll see each gallery loads the content for that gallery, which is a way for us to parse out the data and the rendering of those spaces. And here you can see another three-dimensional object. that we're passing by here. We've got another video. This is by Jacqueline Ronaldo, who was, actually, that's Ian de Leon, that's not Jacqueline. This is Jacqueline's work right here. Aberration by Jacqueline Regalado, sorry. And yeah, so one gets sort of the experience of not only the other viewers, which in this case are somewhat blocking our view, or we might be blocking theirs. And, you know, unlike a traditional museum, you can literally walk right through the work and then turn around and take a look at it. You can pretty much touch everything. And, you know, I think the real way to see this work is to just go in there and explore it yourself. I know I'm getting close here on time, but I want to just point out a couple things. So first and foremost, this system was built by Don Hansen, one of our grad students. And I just want to make sure I credit Don with the work. And Don is a local artist in the Bay Area who joined us this year. And you can find more at his website, his recently updated website right here. And that's TONXYZ. I'm going to paste that into chat. And then the system he's built is this New Art City, which was developed in really participation with the artists who were doing the work and exhibiting in the space. We were officially the third exhibition. The first one, as you can see, was Don's, and then he exhibited work by Kenny Myers, and then Pivot Point, our exhibition, was the third exhibition. And currently, right now, the Great Area Showcase Spring 2020 is opening right now. I think it ends officially at 7. So that's why you see all of the additional. So Yash Joshi says, it's not escaping properly on Mac Safari for me. So you want to hit escape twice. It does kind of take over your browser. And so you really want to push and hold that escape button to get out of it. And yeah, it is easy to get lost, Wendy. Thanks for noting that. You want to look for a portal to escape back to the main gallery if you can, if you're in Gallery 6. And then I'm going to show one more piece before I wrap it up. And you can see right now just how many people are in the exhibition, which is amazing because if this was our BFA student exhibition, the exhibition would have literally lasted 48 hours in a physical space. And then it would have been gone basically forever, other than documentation. And so the fact that, you know, another opening is drawing visitors to this opening is kind of a miracle, really. Sometimes I just go in and just re-hit the root URL if I want to get myself back home to Pivot Point. You can always revisit the origins of the show by just hitting the default URL. And then the last space we'll go into is one by Cole Meek. I believe this is Cole's show, a piece in here. Cole, are you here? Nope, other side of the room. So I often have to go in and to look at the map, look at the statement, find out where I am. This is Cole's Gallery 6. And this is a piece that Cole made in my video class, actually. And he wanted to take his video work and exhibit it in a dimensional environment.
Was wird daraus, wenn der Buhne mal tot geht? Wo landen diese Sachen? Wo landen diese Instrumente? Was wird daraus?
And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I wanted to present the work by our students and what I had done to help facilitate that work. And so I'm going to wrap it up with that.
Great. Thank you, everybody. So Craig, question about interacting with millennials, or quasi-millennials. Most of your students are in their 20s, I assume.
Yeah.
I mean, they grew up playing multi-user games and social media and so on. So first of all, do you notice that they when they do things online, they do them differently from the traditional net art? And second, how do they influence your own work?
Yeah, so the students themselves are very comfortable in first-person viewpoint environments. I call it person-first environments, but they just, they're natives to that kind of perspectival space, even if it's distorted, if the camera angles are distorted. It was a very interesting dichotomy between their desire for a fully virtualized world and then the reality of not having that in-person experience. I mean, young students are still socializing, they're still developing in many ways. And, the history of our lab really has a lot to do with that peer-to-peer community, not in the internet sense, but in the person-to-person sense. And we're very much a learning community in the CADRE Media Lab, and we're a little bit of the bad news bears. We take come one, come all. We get people who run from engineering, compy, or computer science and want to make art or design or animation. And so I think they really did miss that in-person experience. They long for the lost community. One interesting thing is they show up. They definitely showed up more virtually than they did in person. And one of the interesting things for me as a professor is that, if a student's in class and distracted by an MMORPG or social media, it's a little bit nerve-wracking for me. But if they at least show up in Zoom, I don't care what they're multitasking. If their name is there on the screen and they've bothered to show up in an environment where they're not required to be present, because we don't require attendance, they've at least decided they want to be part of that. So, I mean, the generational differences get more and more vast as I age, but I'm also a bit of a digital native, having grown up in the 80s with, 2400 baud bulletin boards and, eCity, weird stuff like that. So I don't, I think really my goal there is to address our commonalities, respect our differences, and to find where we can create a shared environment to sustain our community that was lost suddenly in the lab.
So I know you don't teach science. I'm just wondering if there's a difference in now that we move online, if there's a difference between the students that take a science class and the students that take an art class. The students that take a science class tend to be, I don't know if passive is the right word, but they're just listening to the teacher. But the students that take your class are supposed to create something, and in this case, create something online. So it would be interesting to compare the way these students react to being catapulted on the online in the online world.
Well, these students, I've worked with a lot of students in engineering and CS, and I think they're all facing the same thing we're all facing, is really the crisis of the unknown, and really watching sort of the world crumbling around them. While there is stability, we know that socially and politically things are very tenuous right now. And so I think it was a very emotional period, honestly, and getting this, bootstrapping this exhibition space and doing something ourselves, because we could have purchased some kind of off-the-shelf solution or used something that was already built. But building it together, even virtually and remotely, made the most sense for us. And investing in our own, really, investing in our own grads and our undergrads, and having those, really making those connections real. I can't speak for the sciences per se, but I know through the laser series and the interactions I've had and the funded projects I've done with engineering and computer science, even for the young scientists, the experience of engaging with other students who might be artists or designers is something that they really appreciated. So a lot of that is lost now, and it does concern me.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about being creative in the way we teach. I just wonder if we also need to have a discussion on changing the way students. There's also a new kind of creativity that can come out from the people who learn, become more participants in the process. But
yeah, I'll just end it. That thought with mine really comes from Seymour Papert's constructionism. We're really using learning, building tools to model knowledge. So that really hands-on experience, whether it's physical computing, using Arduino or code, our students learn by making, and a lot of that has been associated with doing something in person and failing in person. So I do think that there's a lot of efficiencies gained by shutting down the system, the university, I'll say, but there's a lot that's lost, and it will be interesting to see what the future holds.
Okay. You guys have questions for each other before I go into the QA with the audience?
Yeah, I have a question for Craig. So with your experience with exhibiting artworks online, like how do you feel about this space? Like, why do you choose to have something that looks like a real gallery when we are online in a totally new space? Why not use some other formats? And why you choose to have it in a short period other than permanently? And what are the important aspects that you feel as the online exhibition should have?
Yeah, so these were collective decisions. All of our culminating exhibitions are collectively decided by students with faculty. We did work with the grad, with Don, and this was the modality that he constructed it in, a traditional gallery space model. But it's certainly, the system he built doesn't preclude. You could essentially embed these works in any three-dimensional space. And I did suggest maybe you would want something less rectilinear. My work myself, particularly lately, primarily has been in India, my own work, and I really didn't show any of my work today because it wasn't really appropriate for the topic. But in engaging in social praxis and doing a lot of travel throughout India, and some of my colleagues and friends from India I think are here today, but really had so much to do with that in-person experience, with teaching in person, creating in person, and then really doing live public installations that must be experienced in person. So to be honest, this is kind of an alien space for me to experience the traditional ideas about art, which is creating community, conversations, challenging the viewer. And then we also have to just keep in mind that it's constrained by the mandates of nation-state governments, the NSA. We're really all sort of filtered into that space of surveillance. And so we're really more vulnerable than ever. And beyond Zoom's security vulnerabilities, it's just that there's nothing that's not public anymore. And so it's a really interesting, I think, somewhat schizophrenic experience of wanting to preserve the intimacy and privacy of students' experiences in the classroom, which are sometimes very politicized due to the nature of our students being from all over the world. And then the fact that now everything is online and being recorded and presented in that format. So I don't know the answer to what it should look like, but I do think that much of what we're seeing is just an outpouring of creativity, whether from Zoom parties to YouTube concerts. I'm just seeing a lot of creativity and people using the internet for what it was built for in this time. So I'm quite excited about this time, to be honest, beyond the tragedy.
What do you think is the future? So let's say a vaccine comes in January, it's available widely in June, and we go back to normal life 1 year from now. Do you think 1 year from now we'll have forgotten everything about this online art, online exhibition, and so on? Or will this trigger something in the States? Craig?
Yeah, it's really hard to separate art from politics today. There was a great article in KQED on artist-made tools, resisting algorithmic racism and empowering communities. I think some of the changes we're seeing in the use of one obvious change is the failure of the biometrics, particularly facial recognition in the time of the mask. We really need to question, and we're on the cusp of questioning some of the algorithmic biases that we're seeing. And I feel like this is more than art today, and it's really about really reassessing where we're headed as societies. And this is a time of reckoning in many ways for the global society. And we all seem to be stranded on our own islands at this point, depending on where we are in that nexus. But I think the future portends more connectivity for sure, and more cultural understanding, and more dissolution of the traditional nation-state boundaries. And I think, again, there was the promise of the internet, the stateless system that is now fully embellished with state. You know, there was an internet that we once loved that was stateless, and now it is all about the state. So I'd like to see really where the artists and the activists take these technologies. I can't really predict the future. I hope that it's not a disembodied future of virtual exhibitions and virtual galleries, because ultimately in the end, we're staring at a two-dimensional flat panel of glass. And I do long, and I miss that embodied human interaction of social praxis and performance and public art, of meeting artists and making connections through travel. But that's on hold now. And yeah, that's a very evasive way of saying that I think we don't know. I don't know.
Okay.